To begin with gouache, play with the colors and lines. Explore the color on paper and be aware of the free and smooth movement of the medium. Over the basic application of your first coat of gouache, apply another layer of same color to demarcate the hair and hairline. Now, the first basic layer begins to act as the skin tone at this stage of your portrait study. The sheet you choose for your medium, like gouache, is usually smooth with light texture. Use the second application of color to define the eyes, nose, and lips. The basic shape of the head is very important, so always be attentive to study the confined within the shape, and hair and beard or any characteristic will be built around the basic oval shape of the head. Though the choice of the paper is important, however, a good skill to paint is not largely dependent on sheet or texture you may choose to paint on. I further divide the face into two parts to represent light and shade. I painted the light side of the face in a warm tone representing shade. The part where the light falls, I painted in a cool shade of bluish green. I will directly apply the color on paper and work towards the form of the head. If you are a beginner, it is advisable that you draw a basic structure of the head and placement of the facial features as light pencil marks. Enrich the cool green area with a wash of white to assert the presence of light on that half of the face. It's very important to place a cool color over the next to a warm color to bring richness in your painting. Gouache is opaque once layers of colors are placed on top of another. The light does not travel through the paint and reflect back from ground surface. Hence, the opaque gouache is not in itself a luminous medium as watercolors. The correct play of warm and cool colors helps us take care of this actuality where we enrich our work through smart and thoughtful application of cool colors over warm hues, and sometimes vice versa. Another method of adding luminosity to your gouache paint is by giving a wash of watercolor. Watercolor acts like a glazing agent. You will find the gouache shining through. Remember, no matter that medium you may choose to work with, the study of tonal variation, light and shade is a very important aspect. The correct use of tone and shade brings the portrait to life, giving it a third dimension known as depth. For this particular portrait, I am using the wet and wet technique with gouache, where layers of paint are applied quickly over the paper before the paint dries out. We will discuss more about this technique later. Gouache is a very useful medium for beginners due to its quality of drying out quickly as compared to other materials, which makes them useful for quick drawings. However, in gouache the colors always remain water soluble and the layers below tend to stir up every time a fresh application of paint is applied. You may use soft hog hair brushes for gouache work, as it holds a thick color well. They are known as Bristol brushes too. But since in gouache you also run the risk of muddying the work, to avoid that, keep your brush soft over the paper as you apply multiple layers and use a soft brush for your work. This control is developed over a period of time. Draw a lot of portraits from imagination or self-portraits by using a mirror rather than waiting to a model. Start practicing with various mediums or just using pencil. Produce a lot of portrait drawings. Feel free and draw whatever comes out subconsciously. I will now show you how to draw a live model using gouache. The skin tone of the model is dark brown, and I choose to paint the basic first layer. A good portrait is more about capturing a good likeness of the model. Art is interpretation of ourself through a subject of or object outside us. Thus, to capture the essence of the sitter is as important as getting his or her facial features to a close resemblance on paper while studying or painting portraits. The essence of your subject is reflection of your perspective or opinion. At this stage, we will not draw the details and concentrate on getting the basic form and the contours of the turban on his head. I'll pick up brown to sketch out the main shapes of his features and marking the areas with shadows is just below the turban, and the areas where the model's hollow cheeks and sunken eyes form strong shadows. The essence, in other words, your understanding of the subject or sitter, is a very interesting process, especially when we choose watercolor or gouache as our medium to express. Gouache is an extremely vulnerable medium. There is not much scope of correction, as the layers of colors are to be placed carefully due to their nature of drying out quickly. So you must be very sure that you want and how you would like the end result to be. I mix a lighter shade or a white color to the yellow ochre to paint the lighter areas, mainly the forehead, cheek bones and the protruding chin. The filtration process of seeing, interpreting, and drawing has to be quick, and this is only possible if you have practiced enough portraits from imagination as mentioned in the earlier lessons. The quicker you are to paint the model in wet and wet, it will be better for you, as mixing of the colors is easier and the mind gets little time to get distracted from its purpose. The turban of the model has shades of light brown, so I will develop the same by extracting the essence of the turban and his face, then getting too involved in reporting the details of his face. A good portrait is always the one that trumps on showing the essence of its model, rather than reporting things just as they are. You will notice this the most as I paint the turban and the cloth wrapped around the model. I added a few strokes on the turban in purple to convey the shadows to enhance its essence. I will later play with the darker shade of purple to hint the print of the cloth draped around the stir. By giving a wash of a cool green color over its dark skin tone will take us back to the basic guidelines of how a cool color tone over a dark one helps us enhance the latter. also taking care of light and shade, post which I take white to paint strong highlights on the tub. The nose is the most defining feature of the person's character, and we always need to give some extra attention to the nose. I painted the corner of the nose with a dark light along with placing an equally strong contrast of light on the central bone to lift the nose from the rest of the facial features, suggesting a protruding features of the face. As the final touch, I'll paint the distinct contrast in light and shade. The darkest areas falling under the turban around the features on his neck and cheeks, whereas the maximum lights being on the forehead, turban and chin. The direction at which the features flow is a strong suggestion of your model's age. It's important we pay special attention to this facet. In this case, the features are drooping, indicating old age. Notice how the eyes, lips, the skin over his cheeks and chin are sagging. Keep in mind not to use too much white initially, as it requires skill and practice to handle white color. In gouache, too much application will give a very chalky result. In case your work ends up looking chalky, you can rectify this by applying a thin wash of any other pure color that suits the painting. Gouache is essentially an opaque version of watercolors. It can be thinned with water and used semi-transparent, and it could be used in the wet and wet process that we'll be talking about later. So by using the medium in different consistency, we could achieve different results. An important point to remember is that the color after drying will be lighter in tone than they appear when wet. So you must know your color and their nature well to judge how the end result may look like. Gouache is also known as body color due to its opaque quality. It's best used on pastel sheet. It's a medium, it's a great medium to practice freehand scribbling, as a lot of color can be picked in the brush at one go. Consequently, it stretches on a paper for long and changes its character stroke by stroke. Gouache by itself lacks luminosity, thus glazing is very important part of the process. It's also a great medium to learn dark, cool, and contrasting colors.